Hi, I'm Russell Cummings. Welcome to this short recap video of the Enterprise Learning Business Strategy Workshop that we ran in early November 2014. This video is really a companion for the online training course that we pulled together as a summary of this program, but would also help you go through, the key elements of it. There's a copy of the PowerPoint and the workbook are on the resources page, which should help you work through the program. But very quickly, let's just run through it. So the purpose of the workshop was to improve skills in a range of business and leadership areas, was to learn from the other people in the room, to share best practice and to build networks and alliances and to have a bit of fun, and we achieved all of those things. We discussed the new business environment that we all work in, and it's called VUCA, and VUCA is short for volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous, and that sort of defines the key elements of the current business environment. It's volatile, it's up and down, it's all over the place, it's uncertain, we can't predict it, it's complex, there are so many more challenges than ever been, and it's ambiguous, there's little clarity, we're getting the mixed messages from the marketplace. I also mentioned that there's another dimension to this, which I call velocity, and the velocity is that not only is it's a VUCA world, but it's happening at a faster and faster and faster pace. So a lot of complexity happening at higher and higher speed. What does this mean for you and your business? It means that training will move away from typical behavioral competencies, and by that we mean typically things that are very driven by competencies, Cert 4, Cert 3 type competencies, into you need your managers and your team to have more complex thinking abilities. We're finding that leadership needs to be distributed early on. It was okay to have leadership concentrated at the top of the organisation. We're now finding we need to have leaders at all levels of the organisation that are prepared to step up and take some responsibility. And we're finding that there's more just-in-time learning, and that the team needs to learn by doing. What sort of learning? Well, we've found that there's sort of two sorts. There's horizontal development, which is like if you're a doctor and a surgeon, then you'd learn the set procedures for doing something. So that training is very, very horizontal and linear. But this VUCA environment, or the V squared environment, actually requires vertical skills, and there are skills around problem solving, planning, decision making, managing people, all that sort of stuff, and it allows people to be far more adaptable, collaborative and self-aware. So that's the key thing. This program is very much about giving you some of those vertical skills. Alright, so we ran through the agenda. Let's get into it. So we got to give you some introductions for each other, so we each introduced ourselves, and then we went into some key management frameworks. Key one is the now, where, how model, and this is the basis of all good planning and problem solving. Basically it says, where are we now, where are we going to be in the future, and how are we going to get there. And as I mentioned, we spend way too much time looking at the now and too little time deciding on where we're going to be. And it's the where that puts our now and how into context. So the where is what really drives your actions, and it's really important. Now, this is the basis of all good problem solving and planning techniques, and you will find it reappear through the program as we go through. We talked about the business improvement strategies, or business improvement stages. 3 stages: getting the structure right, so that's all the visible, concrete things in your business: people, processes, profits, products, promotion, pricing, all those sorts of things. We get those things right. And that's where most people put most of their effort, because it's the visible, tangible stuff. Less tangible, but far more important, is eliminating the waste and inefficiency from your business. This is not waste product. It includes waste product, but it also includes wasted time, wasted capital, wasted opportunity. And we know from experience that 20 to 30% of the hard costs in your business will be tied up in waste and inefficiency. The third area is beliefs or culture, and that's about getting everybody's thoughts in your team in alignment and everybody pushing in the same direction. Get this right and it can have a massive impact on your business. And my experience is, if you give people a common language and a common toolkit for planning, problem solving, the vertical skills we just talked about, and head them off with a good plan for where you're heading to, so that everybody has buy into that plan, then you will actually get some magnificent results in your business. The third model is the strategic planning model, and as we're talking about strategic planning at this workshop, this is a really important model. So we look here at the model basically says that we need to understand what our competitive advantage is, and our competitive advantage is what differentiates us in the marketplace. Why should people buy our products and services? Competitive advantage should be driving our marketing strategy, and our marketing strategy is how we position our business and how we promote it to the wider community, and then how we sell. The operation strategy then needs to make sure we deliver on the promises that we've made in our marketing and effectively deliver on our sustainable competitive advantage. The operation strategy is then supported by innovation, IT, HR, finance, a whole range of other strategies that are supporting and are enabling strategies in our business. But most businesses get it wrong and start with operations and try and work out then what the hell are we going to tell people, and then finally have no idea what their competitive advantage is. Far better to work it the other way. It's far more strategic. Alright, so then we follow the now, where, how process, and we jumped into the now. First tool we talked about was the magic wand. And we basically said, if you had a magic wand with no limitations, what changes would you make to your business? Okay, so what changes would you make? A really simple tool, and remember the answers are the flip side of what's actually wrong. So this is a tool, it's not a where tool, it's not a visioning tool, it's really just telling you what's wrong and what are the issues in your current business. And you can use it and the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, to help you sort out some of the key issues in your business. We did a little exercise around that, and I'd encourage you to go back through your workbook now and just have a look at that magic wand exercise and what were the 3 or 4 things that dropped out for you out of that exercise. We talked about it's really important you get the context for what you're going to do your planning in, and you do a bit of an environmental scan of the business. What we're looking for here are what are the key changes and impacts that are going to make a difference to your business going forward in the next 3 to 5 years. If we use a simple value chain model, we talk about who are the suppliers, so who supplies us with products and services, what's happening in our industry, what's happening with our channels to market or our direct customers. So if we actually sell through wholesalers before we go to end consumers, that sort of stuff. So what's happening with those channels to market or with those direct customers? And then lastly, what's happening with the people who actually use and consume our product? Because they can often be different to our customers. Think these things through, have a look at the key elements and the key issues that drop out of it, and make sure we address them in your strategic planning process. Alright, so that's all we talked about in the now, just a couple of simple tools, but there's lots of other things you could do. Obviously Enterprise Connect or an Entrepreneur Infrastructure Program can really help you with their business reviews, fairly comprehensive, but if you don't have one of those, you can look at marketing and sales reviews, competitor analysis, financial analysis, some of those sort of things to give you more insights into where the issues are in your business. We then talked about where, and there's a lot of stuff we can cover in the where, but in this short workshop we just covered a couple of key components. The first thing we talked about, and we watched a short video, this TED Talk by Simon Sinek, and I'd commend it to you, so take the time to sit down and watch it, follow the link, and there's a link on the resources page that'll take you straight there. Simon talks about it's important that we understand why we're in business, or the purpose of our business, and we spent some time talking about this and thinking it through. So why does your business operate, and why do you exist? Once you've got that clear, then you can work out how you're going to deliver that, and then what you need to do in order to deliver those two things. So it's a really important process for setting context for your business, and I encourage you to do that. So reflect back on your notes again and see what you came up with in terms of why. We then talked about a value proposition, and this is an example I took from the personal branding webinar we ran the other day, but it applies just as well in your business. And the personal brand proposition, or the business value proposition, says what are the attributes of our products and services? So what are the key features and benefits and the key attributes of what we do? What's the image we're going to project in the marketplace? So how do we project in our business, and how do people perceive it? And then lastly, what's the sort of quality of the relationships we want to build with customers? Now your customers will weigh up all of these 3 elements in order to determine value. So they'll weigh up the attributes, the image and the relationship to determine value. And we had some examples talking about sports cars and about family cars, about has a different value proposition between a $300,000 Maserati and a $30,000 Hyundai. Both great cars, both specific for particular purposes, but both have very different value propositions in terms of attributes, image, and relationship. Once you've thought that through, then what we got you to do was come up with 2 or 3 words in each of these areas that define your business. And in this example, this is a personal brand, but you might come up with, strong skill sets, other different things as your personal attributes, or your business attributes will be different. You might talk about image, and your image for your business could very well be knowledgeable, trusted, and caring. The quality of the relationships and how you want to build those, so how you define those relationships could very well be defined in your business as long-term, reliable, and win-win. And once you've got those sort of 6 to 10 words, then I encourage you for each of those words to write a short statement that defines it. So in this one we've just said caring is respecting the needs of others. Now it's important because different words have different meanings to different people, and you need to define what it is that you mean by knowledgeable or trusted or long-term or reliable. It's really important. And once we've got these things, then that starts to set up how we want to present our business. You can use it to drive your marketing and sales and strategy. We talked about business vision, and one of the key things here is getting a concrete description of what you'd like to have in your business in the future. And my suggestion was that you use a tool like mind mapping for this, where you go through and you mind map what you want to have to see at the end of your planning horizon. So you might say, my plan's going to go over 3 to 5 years, or it might be over 12 months. It's up to you. It could be over 3 months. But let's say it's a strategic plan. 3 to 5 years is a good time frame for that. What I want you to do is tell me what you want to have in place. So what do you aspire to have in place in terms of the customers you work with, in terms of the products and services that you offer, in terms of the promotion, the marketing and sales activities that you want to present your business, in terms of the processes and systems that you want to drive the delivery of products and services to your patrons, and also to drive the promotion and marketing and administration of your business. In terms of people and management, tell me about how you want the people and management to be perceived. And lastly, what do you want in terms of profitability and cash flow? So think those things through, write either notes or use a mind map or something, so you've got a concrete picture of the things that you aspire to have in place. Rather than the things you think you might get, think about the things you want to have in place. So this is all about creating a vision for the future. Is about what do you aspire to. We've got you to do a quick exercise for that, and I'm using those 6 factors as prompters, and I encourage you to go back and flesh that out and put a lot more detail into that, because the more detail you get here, the more detail you'll have in your plan. We talked then about a business statement, and a business statement is that really simple statement of we deliver products, X products and services to particular customer sets by following activities. If you use my business as an example, you would say we deliver strategy, planning and coaching services to dynamic, family and privately owned businesses using rigorous processes and quality people. Okay, so that's my business statement, quite simple. So what is your business statement? Map that out. And then also we talked the importance of what we don't do. And for sometimes it's really important that you define areas of the market that you won't work in, or products and services that you just don't believe you can deliver effectively, so therefore you're not going to do them. So take the time to develop a good business statement, and really you want to complete that statement. We provide or we deliver to buy. We then talked about setting KPIs and targets, and we talked about the balanced scorecard methodology. And balanced scorecard basically says if we've got great people driving good systems, they will run great processes for us. Those processes will deliver value, products and services to our customers. Our customers, if they're happy, will pay us some money, and that financial program, we can then invest some of that money back into the system again. So we've got an ongoing cycle of people to process to customer to financial. And we talked about how finance and customer things in terms of measures, in terms of key performance indicators or KPIs, how finance and customers are outcomes. Yeah, and they're relatively easy to measure. And then we talked about then how the core processes and people are often what we call enablers, and they're often lead indicators. So we have lead and lag indicators. So a lag indicator is something that you measure after the event, and sometimes quite a time after the event, over a time period, that gives you a really strong indication of whether you've hit a target or not. So it's a clear, concrete target. Whereas a lead indicator is something that indicates whether you're on target to hit that, but without being a definitive measure. So for example, a financial measure could be profitability, which you measure at the 30th of June, but your lead indicators could be things like sales or cost per person or gross margin or something else that you monitor on a regular basis that indicates whether you're hitting your profit targets. There can also be lead indicators then for some of those measures. So in terms of sales, you might say, well, sales is a bit of a lag indicator. What's a lead indicator for sales? And it could be, visits or sales visits or sales meetings or other things that your sales team are doing to get you those KPIs. So think about the KPIs that you want to measure various things in your business. In terms of a structure for KPIs, we've used the VQ-TQ methodology here, and we've suggested that you do that. And it's quite simple. It's V is for verb, quantity, time frame, and quality. An example is deliver 1,000 units by the 30th of June at 97% DIFOT, where DIFOT stands for delivered in full on time. And if any of you have had to deliver to large organisations, they've often got DIFOT measures that you live and die by. So that's a great way to map out a simple KPI. We talked about a number of other things that you could look at in terms of building the where for your business, and they could be things like values and your business model canvas and a whole heap of other things. But one of the other ones is competitive advantage, and we talked about this earlier in our strategic planning model. We have to understand our sustainable competitive advantage. Now, competitive advantage is really quite simply, what do we do that adds maximum value to the customer and that we do better than the competitors? Yeah, and a really simple way to do this is just for you to brainstorm the key success factors that you see in your business, map those out, and then score them in terms of what's our value to the customer. Score it from 0 to 10, where 10 is high. So we add lots of value, we score it high, like a 9. If we don't add much value, then we score it low. And similarly, what's our current ability to beat the competitor? Now the model and the model that we'll show you in the training course is a bit more complex than this, because it gives you a slightly better answer, but you can really very quickly just run with those first two and say, what are our competitive advantages? Once you've got those, it's then a matter of saying, geez, our competitive advantages is around reliability or timeliness or delivery time frames or quality or something else. How do we ensure that we're absolutely focused on delivering that? So what's a 90-day plan? What are some of the 90-day actions that we can take to make sure that we're focused on delivering competitive advantage? We took a break for lunch, and then we came back and we talked about developing strategy. And this is a great tool here. It's called the strategic SWOT analysis. And it differs from a normal SWOT analysis in that we only want a few. What are the really strategic or competitive strengths and weaknesses of our businesses? And we talked about those, and we said if we're getting more than about 7 strengths or weaknesses, then we're probably not being strategic enough. So, you want to be able to drill into the quality of the answer to make sure that you do have the real strengths of your business. Then we looked at opportunities and threats, and we talked about the opportunities being the factors that are acting upon our business. The external factors are acting upon our business. And we did a simple PEST analysis here to help us brainstorm some of these. And PEST stands for political, economic, social, and technological. And we talked about using those, and we said, if we brainstorm those, what are some of the factors that are acting on our business? Once we had those factors, then we could develop some action statements by saying, how do we use these, how do we overcome our strengths? How do we take advantage of our strengths? How do we overcome our weaknesses? How do we use our strengths to take advantage of opportunities? How do we overcome our threats? how, all those sorts of questions. And if you come up with an action statement, a statement that starts with a doing word, you end up with a much better answer. So a short statement rather than just marketing. If you have build new export markets with government help, or develop an industry-wide scenario plan. These are all things actions that you can do. Now you should end up with sort of 12 to 30 odd actions. Those actions then we group up into 4 key areas, but 3 primary ones. There's normally actions around marketing and sales. There's normally actions around productivity and efficiency gains. There's normally actions around people and management. And then the last one, there's often actions around finance and assets and succession, trading assets. So what I encourage you to do is take your list of 30 action statements that drop out of the SWOT, sort them into whether they're marketing, process, people, finance type actions. And then when you've got those group, have a look at that group of actions and give them a name. And it might be to improve the strategic marketing of our business, or it could be to build a great team, or it could be to hand our assets to the next generation, could be your strategies. And those things become your strategies, and then it's easy to plug that into a one-page plan. Now, one-page plan is a really simple document, follows the now, where, how structure, and that's the most important part. So the layout is up to you, but really important, it has now, where, and how in it. So in this one, you would take, from your initial now analysis, this example here, we did a magic wand and we did a bit of a business environmental scan. So you'd put a couple of key points in there from where we are now. You may take some points out of the Enterprise Connect business review that they did for you. So we take some of this stuff out of the vision we did, out of our competitive advantage, all those sorts of things, and some of the KPIs we set, and we come up with just a simple summary of where we want to be. The strategies are the strategies we just talked about coming out of the strategic SWOT. So they're the headings for our groups of actions, and then of course our actions just drop in under each of those strategies. And then make sure you add a who and a when by for each of those actions. And the who is really important, that you pick somebody who's going to be responsible. You don't have a team of people, you have somebody responsible who's responsible not for doing it, but for making sure it gets done. Be sure that you pick realistic time frames to get the jobs done, and you're not setting time frames that you just possibly can't deliver against. Alright, so that was the key thing. We then spent a little bit of time talking about promotion strategy. And the important parts here are you've got to have some networking activity, so make sure you focus a little bit on networking activity. That out of that networking activity, you might need to do some one-on-one stuff. That could be cold calling or warm calling based on people you've met through your networking. But they're the targets you want to approach, and they're the one-on-one activities that you need to do. And then lastly, we talked about broadcast activities. Central to this is a website. And from that website you can then drive things like your social media campaign. Using YouTube and video is really important and becoming more and more important for you and your business. So use those sorts of things to drive that. But there's also things like advertising and TV and radio and print advertising. Now, the amount of effort you put into each of these circles will depend on your business and your customers and those sorts of things, but you're going to need to do something generally in each of those 3 areas. So be selective in what you do and build a plan of action around each of them. Alright, so the next steps for you are to work through the modules in the training course. So below you'll find 10 modules that'll step you through most of the key elements of the training program and allow you to pull together a one-page plan at the end. So use the training modules to give you a recap on each of the tools, but also to help you guide through getting some results for it. We'll also do some face-to-face follow-up with you, and I'm looking forward to catching up with you soon. Don't forget to register for our free webinar program and get you and your team involved in training in a whole range of business tools and processes and concepts that you might think about. All right, hope you've enjoyed this. Talk again soon. Thanks.